Hi, this video is to show you how to use virtual manipulatives for an online math lesson. So in this particular Google Slides, I have linked these words down here. Let's use fraction bars to a website called Toy Factory. So let's click on it right now. As you see, it opens up a brand new window and it takes me right to the math tools. Now, this particular site has a lot of math tools. Let me just show you. If you click over here where it says Teacher Tools, and it will take you over here to the virtual manipulatives. So I just happen to choose the one called fraction strips, which is this one right here. So the way I would use it is, if I'm going to compare fractions, is to start with a benchmark, let's say for 1/2, and then build my fractions. Let's say I have 1/2 and I'm going to compare it to 1/4. Okay, so then I would guide the kids through a discussion of what do you notice about the numerators, the denominators. The numerators are the same, but the denominators are different. So this is fourths and this is halves. So just by a visual model here, you can see that 1/2 is greater than 1/4. Now what I would have the kids do is, well, first I would use the annotation tool that's built into Zoom to do some writing on the side. So I'm going to click this thick marker one and I'm going to choose red and I'm going to write 1/2. 1/2. And on the other side over here, I'm going to write 1/4. And then I would ask the kids to think through this and say, is it greater than or less than? And then they can show me on their screens, either through a paper or some kind of hand signal or something, showing me, is it greater than or less than? Which inequality symbol are you going to use? So obviously 1/2 is greater than, and we would do that. Okay. So if I can keep practicing with this, I can clear everything I have here and start over again. Click off this, and here we go. So, and to erase this, you just grab them and put them back like this. Okay. Let's say I do eighths. I have 3/8 and 2/8. And again, let's compare fractions. Let's talk about it first. What do you notice about the numerators? What do you notice about the denominators? That leads to discussion that the denominators are exactly the same, so we can just count the pieces, which are the numerators. 1, 2, 3. 3 is more than 2. So then we can just write over here. Now this tool, this annotation tool, does have a text tool. Unfortunately, you cannot do equations or write fractions unless you use the slant line like this. I don't recommend that because that doesn't really look like a fraction. So I would definitely use the draw over here and just draw the fractions. So you have 3/8 and you have 2/8. And again, ask the kids to solve it on their own first by putting in the inequality symbol, and then come back together and go ahead and write the symbol in and then discuss why that answer is reasonable. Also, it does have a spotlight tool, so you can do something like that if you want to point out things to students. It also has a stamp, so you can say, oh, let's stamp the numerators, or let's put an X by the denominators. So that way they can visually see where they have to track and see what you're trying to explain. So I hope that gave you some idea of how to use virtual manipulatives online with students using Zoom's sharing feature. All I did for this was I actually shared my screen through Zoom, this particular screen. So it was pretty straightforward. There are many tutorials on how to share Zoom.